The morning sun rose higher over New Haven Colony, illuminating a scene that would be talked about for generations. Dragonkin Imperial Guards stood in formation around a destroyed repair shop. Their empress knelt in the street speaking to a human mechanic covered in dust and bruises. Daeho still couldn't quite process what was happening. His shop was destroyed. His home above it had a hole in the roof. Dragonkin warriors in armor that probably cost more than his entire building surrounded him, and Empress Mirai, ruler of an empire spanning dozens of worlds, was thanking him. "You watched?" Daeho asked, his voice hoarse from being choked. "The whole time." Bora, the translator officer, stepped closer to ensure accurate communication. Mirai spoke, and the device rendered her words in standard human language. "I tracked my daughter after the assassination attempt," Mirai explained. "I followed her escape pod to this planet. When I saw where she landed, I waited to observe. I needed to see how your people would react to finding her." "Why?" Daeho managed to stand, though his legs were shaky. "Why not just take her back immediately?" Mirai's golden eyes held complex emotions. "Because I wanted to know the truth about humans. We have avoided deep contact with your species. We saw you as weak, primitive, not worth understanding. I wanted to see if those assumptions were correct." She paused, looking at Hana, who was being examined by a dragon medical officer. "You proved me wrong," Mirai continued. "You showed me that strength is not only physical power, that wisdom is not only advanced technology. You have something my empire has forgotten." "What's that?" Daeho asked. "Compassion without calculation. You helped Hana expecting nothing. You protected her knowing it could cost everything. In my world, every action has political weight. Every kindness has an agenda. You showed me a different way." Daeho looked at his destroyed shop. "A lot of good it did." "Everything's ruined, and will be rebuilt," Mirai said firmly. "Better than before." "It is the least I can do." Youngsu, who'd been standing quietly, finally spoke up. "Is Hana going to leave now?" Mirai turned to the small human child. She studied him with the same intensity she'd studied his father. Youngsu didn't flinch, though she could see he was nervous. "What is your name, young one?" Mirai asked. "Youngsu." "Kim Youngsu." "Youngsu. You were kind to my daughter. You shared your possessions. Taught her your games. Why?" Youngsu shrugged, a simple gesture. "She needed a friend. I know what it's like to feel alone." Mirai felt something shift in her chest. This child, barely 7 years old, understood loneliness and responded with friendship. No complexity, no agenda, just a kind heart. Hana broke free from the medical officer and ran to Youngsu. She hugged him tightly. "My friend," she said in careful human words. "My best friend." Youngsu hugged her back. "You can't leave yet. We were going to build the biggest light block tower ever. Remember?" Hana looked at her mother, hope and fear mixed on her face. She spoke rapidly in dragon language. Bora translated for Daeho. "She asks permission to stay longer. She says she's not finished learning from the humans." Mirai's expression was conflicted. "Hana, you are needed at home. There are duties, responsibilities. The Empire will survive a few more days without its heir," Bora said quietly, surprising everyone. She was speaking for herself now, not translating. "Forgive my boldness, Empress, but the princess has healed here in ways beyond her physical wounds." Mirai looked sharply at her officer, but Bora continued. "I have served you for 20 years, Your Majesty. I have watched Princess Hana grow from birth. I have never seen her as happy as she was in the surveillance footage." She laughed. She played without purpose or lesson. She was simply a child. The words hit Mirai hard because they were true. She'd watched the same footage. Seen her daughter experience joy she'd never shown in the palace. Daeho cleared his throat. "She can stay as long as she needs. If that's what you want," Mirai studied him. "You would continue to harbor the heir to the dragon throne? After assassins came to your door? After your home was destroyed?" "The assassins came because of me," Daeho said. "Because I didn't hide well enough. That's not Hana's fault. And yes, I'd keep protecting her. Someone has to. Her guard is here now. Trained warriors who can keep her safe from weapons," Daeho interrupted gently. "But can they keep her safe from loneliness, from fear? Can they teach her that it's okay to just be a kid sometimes?" Mirai had no answer for that. Youngsu tugged on his father's sleeve. "Dad, can we show the Empress our apartment? Maybe she can see where Hana stayed?" Daeho wanted to refuse. The apartment was a mess and there was a hole in the roof, but Youngsu looked so hopeful. "If Her Majesty wants to see it," Daeho said. Mirai nodded. "I would like that." The dragon guard secured the perimeter as Deho led Mirai and Bora up the stairs to his apartment. The children ran ahead, excited to show Hana's temporary home. Mirai had to duck to enter. The ceiling was too low for her full height. She looked around the small space with its simple furniture, its worn carpet, its faded walls. Young-Soo showed her Hana's cot. She slept here. I gave her my favorite blanket because she was scared at night. Hana pointed to the drawings on the walls. Young-Soo made pictures. Teach me about human culture. They showed Mirai the kitchen where Deho had made simple meals, the table where they'd eaten together, the corner where they'd played with light blocks. Mirai saw everything through new eyes. In the palace, Hana had a suite of rooms larger than this entire building. She had servants, tutors, every luxury imaginable. But here, in this tiny apartment, her daughter had found something the palace never gave her. A normal life, a friend, a chance to be simply a child. This is where you used chemistry equipment to synthesize the clotting compound? Mirai asked, looking at Deho's workbench. Yes. I didn't know dragonkin physiology, so I had to guess based on analysis. I was terrified it wouldn't work. It was crude, Mirai said. Then she added, but effective. You saved her life with tools meant for machine repair. Deho shrugged. I just did what I could with what I had. Mirai picked up the blanket from Hana's cot. It was cheap synthetic fabric, worn thin from use. In her palace, blankets were woven from materials worth more than this entire building, but this blanket had comforted her daughter through nightmares. Your Majesty, Bora said carefully, we should discuss arrangements. The council will want the princess returned immediately. The council can wait, Mirai said, surprising her officer. I need to think. She turned to Deho. You have given me much to consider. About my daughter. About humans. About what truly matters. I just helped a kid in trouble, Deho said. Anyone would have done the same. No, Mirai said firmly. They wouldn't have. I've lived for 3 of your human centuries. I have seen countless acts of selfishness disguised as kindness. What you did was rare, precious. She set the blanket down gently. I cannot leave my daughter here indefinitely. She has responsibilities, duties to the Empire, but... She looked at Hana and Young-Soo, sitting together and talking animatedly about their light block designs. But perhaps those duties have blinded me to her other needs. Mirai finished quietly. Bora spoke up. Empress, what if we established a formal arrangement? Cultural exchange. The princess could visit regularly under proper guard to continue her education about human society. Mirai considered this. The council would resist. They see humans as beneath us. Then perhaps it's time to change that perspective, Bora said. This human saved the heir to our throne. That deserves recognition, not dismissal. Deho raised his hands. I don't want political complications. I just want to make sure Hana's okay. And she will be, Mirai said. You have my word. But more than that, you have my protection. Any who threaten you or your son will face the full wrath of the Dragon Empire. That's not necessary. It is to me. Mirai's voice carried absolute authority. You risked your life for my daughter. I am in your debt. This is not negotiable. Deho realized arguing was pointless. Okay, thank you. Mirai knelt to be at eye level with him. No, thank you. You showed me my failures as a mother. You gave my daughter something I never could. For that I am grateful. What did I give her? Deho asked, genuinely confused. Mirai looked at Hana, laughing at something Young-Soo said. Joy, freedom, friendship, the chance to simply exist without the weight of empire on her shoulders. She stood and addressed the room. Here is what will happen. Hana will return with me to the palace. Her presence is needed for political stability. But she will visit here regularly, monthly if schedules allow. She will continue her friendship with Young-Soo and her learning about human culture. Really? Young-Soo's eyes lit up, really? Mirai confirmed. Your friendship with my daughter is precious. I will not end it. Hana hugged Young-Soo tightly. I come back, promise. Promise, Young-Soo agreed. Mirai turned to Deho. Your shop will be rebuilt with advanced materials. Consider it payment for medical care rendered. That's too much, It is not enough, Mirai interrupted. But it is a start. Additionally, you and your son are now under permanent imperial protection. That status is recorded in our highest security databases. To harm you is to make an enemy of the Dragon Throne itself. Deho felt overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. Say you'll continue to be Hana's friend. Both of you. That's all I ask? Of course, Deho said. A week had passed since Daeho found Hana in the alley. The small apartment above the repair shop had become a different place. Instead of quiet evenings with just him and Young-soo, there was now laughter and the sound of children playing. Hana's wounds had healed remarkably well. The crystalline scars on her arms and legs shimmered when the light hit them. Her wings were still damaged, but the tears had closed. She could fold them properly now without pain. Daeho had reopened his shop, working downstairs while the children stayed in the apartment. He'd installed a small camera so he could check on them from his tablet while he worked. Mostly, he saw them playing games or watching educational videos together. The language barrier was slowly breaking down. Hana was learning human words quickly. She could say basic things now. Hungry. Thank you. Yes and no. Young-soo was teaching her, pointing at things and repeating words until she got them right. Dad is a good word, Young-soo explained one afternoon. You say it when you want Daeho. Dad, try it. Hana tilted her head thinking. Dad, she said carefully. Young-soo clapped his hands. Yes. Good. When Daeho came upstairs for lunch, Hana looked at him and said, Dad, then quickly shook her head. No. Daeho, sorry. Daeho smiled. It's okay, you're learning fast. But something about hearing that word from another child made his chest feel tight. He'd been alone with Young-soo for 2 years, ever since his wife left. It had been hard, trying to be enough for his son. Now there were 2 children looking to him for safety and care. The responsibility should have felt heavier. Instead, it felt right. That afternoon, Daeho sat both children down. Hana, I need to know more. Who hurt you? Are you in danger? Hana's expression grew serious. She thought for a moment, searching for words she knew. Bad people. Want hurt mother. Your mother? Daeho asked. Where is she? Hana pointed up again. Far. Very far. Does she know where you are? Hana shrugged. She didn't know. The attack had been so sudden, so violent. She'd run without thinking, taking an escape pod from the station. She'd crashed on this planet hurt and lost. Are the bad people looking for you? Daeho asked gently. Hana nodded, fear clear on her face. Daeho felt a chill. If assassins were hunting a dragon-kin child, and they tracked her here, his shop would be the first place they'd look. He thought about Young-soo, about keeping him safe. But he looked at Hana, saw her scared golden eyes, and knew he couldn't turn her away. Okay, he said. Then you stay here until we figure out what to do. We'll keep you safe. Young-soo hugged Hana. You're our friend. We protect friends. Hana didn't fully understand all the words, but she understood the meaning. Her eyes got wet, tears forming. In her culture, crying showed weakness. But here, in this small apartment with these kind humans, she let the tears fall. Daeho gave her a tissue. It's okay to cry. You've been very brave. That evening, Daeho made a special dinner. Nothing fancy, just rice and vegetables with some protein cubes, but he arranged it nicely on plates. The 3 of them sat at the small table together. Young-soo told stories about his school, about his friends and teachers. Hana listened carefully, occasionally asking what a word meant. She told them a little about her home, though she kept it vague. A big palace, many rooms, lots of rules. Sounds boring, Young-soo said. Don't you get to play? Hana thought about it. Play is learning. Everything is learning. Must be proper. That's sad, Young-soo said. Playing should be fun. After dinner, Young-soo showed Hana his favorite game, a holographic puzzle where you built structures with light blocks. Hana had never played anything like it. At home, her games were educational simulations designed to teach strategy and politics. This was just fun, no lesson, no purpose except enjoyment. She laughed when her tower collapsed, and Young-soo laughed with her. They rebuilt it together, making it taller and more ridiculous until it fell again. Daeho watched from the kitchen while he cleaned dishes. He saw how different Hana was now compared to that first day. The scared, defensive child was still there, but so was this other side. a normal kid who liked to play and laugh. He wondered what her life was really like. Dragonkin nobility, based on what little he knew, lived very formal lives. Hana probably had responsibilities and expectations far beyond what a child should carry. Here she was just a kid, and Youngsu, who'd been lonely since his mother left, finally had a real friend. Far above in orbit, Empress Mirai sat in her command chamber, watching the same scene Daeho watched. But her perspective was different. She saw her daughter, heir to an empire that spanned dozens of worlds, playing with light blocks and laughing at silly things. In the palace, Hana was always composed, always perfect. She followed every rule of etiquette, spoke when appropriate, and maintained the dignity of her station. Mirai had thought that was good. That was how a future empress should be. But now she saw what that cost. Hana had never laughed like this at home, never relaxed, never just been a child. The human teaches her without demanding submission, Mirai said quietly. He protects her without knowing her value. Her tactical officer, Bora, stood nearby. Your Majesty, the council grows impatient. They demand the princess's return. Let them demand, Mirai said. Hana is safe. She is healing. That's what matters. But the political situation can wait. Mirai's tone ended the discussion. Bora bowed and retreated. She'd served the Empress long enough to know when an argument was futile. Mirai continued watching. She saw Daeho join the children, helping them build an elaborate castle from light blocks. He made suggestions, encouraged their creativity, but never took over. He let them lead. In the palace, everything was done for Hana. She had servants, tutors, assistants. Here, she had to figure things out herself. With help, yes, but she was learning to be independent. This human is teaching my daughter to be strong in ways I never considered, Mirai murmured. The next day, Daeho had to go to the market for supplies. He couldn't leave the children alone for long, so he made the trip quick. When he returned, he found Youngsu teaching Hana about human emotions. This is happy, Youngsu said, making an exaggerated smile. Hana copied him, her scaled face arranging into a similar expression. This is sad, Youngsu said, making a pouty face. Hana tried it, looking so ridiculous that both children burst into giggles. This is angry, Youngsu said, scrunching up his face. But when Hana tried it, she stopped. Her expression became real anger, real fear. She was remembering something. Hana? Youngsu asked, worried. She shook her head, pushing the memory away. Sorry, bad thinking. Youngsu hugged her. It's okay. You're safe now. Daeho, watching from the doorway, felt his protective instincts surge. Whoever hurt this child, whoever made her afraid, he wished he could make them pay. But he was just a mechanic. What could he do against the kind of people who attacked Dragonkin royalty? That night, Hana had a nightmare. She woke up crying out in her language, her small wings flapping in panic. Daeho heard her from his bed and rushed over. Hana, it's okay, he said, turning on a light. You're safe, it's just a dream. But Hana was still caught in the memory. She saw the attackers, felt the pain of her wounds, remembered running and being so scared. Daeho did what he did when Youngsu had nightmares. He sat on the edge of her cot and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. You're here with us, he said softly. No one can hurt you, I promise. His voice, calm and reassuring, cut through her panic. Hana's breathing slowed. She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. Bad people, she whispered in fragmented universal standard. They come? If they come, they'll have to go through me first, Daeho said. He didn't know how he'd stop trained assassins, but he meant every word. Hana believed him. She could see the determination in his eyes. This human, so much weaker than Dragonkin, would still stand between her and danger. Youngsu came over too, dragging his pillow. I'll sleep here tonight. We'll keep the bad dreams away together. He curled up on the floor next to Hana's cot. Daeho brought him a blanket and pillow, making him comfortable. You two stick together, Daeho said. I'll be right over there if you need me. As Daeho went back to his bed, Hana watched him. In her world, adults didn't comfort children like this. There were servants for that, trained caregivers. Royal parents maintained distance, dignity. But Deho wasn't royal. He was just a father who cared. Hana felt something shift inside her. A feeling she didn't have words for. Safety, belonging, family. Young-soo, she whispered. Yeah? Your dad is good, Dad. Young-soo smiled in the darkness. The best. And you know what? He likes you too, I can tell. How you know? Because he worries about you like he worries about me. That's what dads do. Hana thought about her own mother, far away among the stars. Did she worry? Did she even know where Hana was? A terrible thought occurred to her. Maybe her mother thought she was dead. Maybe no one was looking for her. The thought should have made her sad. Instead, she felt strangely peaceful. If no one came, maybe she could stay here. Maybe this could be her home. She fell asleep thinking about light blocks and simple meals and a human boy who called her friend. In orbit, Empress Mirai watched the children sleep. She'd seen Hana's nightmare, seen how the human comforted her daughter with a gentleness Mirai herself had never shown. It hurt, that realization. Mirai had loved her daughter, but she'd loved her as an empress loves an heir. 3 days passed in a strange new routine. Deho's apartment had become a hospital, and he had become a nurse to a patient he barely understood. The dragon girl, Hana, drifted in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, she watched Deho and Young-soo with those golden eyes, wary but too weak to do much else. When she slept, she sometimes whispered words in a language Deho didn't know. Deho had closed his repair shop for these days. He couldn't leave Hana alone, and he couldn't let anyone see her. He told his few customers that he was sick and would reopen soon. Most didn't care. There were other mechanics on New Haven Colony. Young-soo helped in his own way. He sat near Hana, reading his books quietly or drawing pictures. Sometimes he'd show her his drawings, talking to her even though she couldn't understand. "This is a spaceship," Young-soo said, holding up his tablet. "See, it has big engines. And this is our shop down here. That's where we fixed you." Hana's eyes followed the pictures. Once, Deho thought he saw a small smile on her scaled face. The wounds were healing, but slower than Deho had hoped. He changed the crystalline bandages every few hours, reapplying his homemade paste. The chemical analyzer had become his most important tool. He tested her blood regularly, adjusting the mineral compound as needed. On the second day, Hana developed a fever. Her scales became hot to the touch, almost burning. Deho panicked. He had no idea what temperature was normal for dragonkin. He searched through the information on Young-soo's tablet, but it only had basic facts. Nothing about medical care. He was about to take her to the colony hospital when the fever broke on its own. Hana's body temperature dropped back to what it had been before. Deho realized then that her body was fighting infection. The fever was natural. He'd almost made a terrible mistake by moving her while she was so fragile. That night, as Deho sat in the chair beside the couch watching Hana sleep, he thought about what he'd gotten himself into. If anyone found out he was hiding a dragonkin, there would be questions. Colonial authorities might think he kidnapped her. Or worse, the people who hurt her might come looking. He looked at Young-soo asleep in his bed across the room. Was he putting his son in danger? But then Hana whimpered in her sleep, her small wings twitching. She looked so vulnerable. How could he throw her out? Where would she go? "We'll figure it out," he whispered to himself like he did every night since his wife left. "We always do." In the command chamber of her hidden ship, Empress Mirai watched the same scene on her screens. She saw Deho's worried face, saw him checking Hana's temperature with a simple thermometer meant for humans. "This human has no training," her medical officer said, standing beside her. "He's using tools meant for machines and basic chemistry. The princess should be in a proper medical facility. And yet she lives," Mirai said. "She heals. By luck." "No," Mirai said firmly, "by care." "Look at him." On the screen, Deho was adjusting Hana's blanket, making sure she was comfortable. His movements were gentle, patient. When she stirred, he spoke softly, words of comfort even though she couldn't understand. Mirai had seen many skilled doctors in her long life. She had the best physicians in the empire. but she'd never seen someone care for a patient with such simple, honest concern. No ceremony, no formality, just a father's instinct to protect a child. He reminds me of someone, Mireille said quietly. Her tactical officer knew who she meant. Mireille's own mate, Hana's father, had died years ago. He'd been gentle like this human, kind without expecting anything in return. On the third day, Hana woke up fully for the first time. Daeho was in the kitchen area making breakfast. Young-soo was still asleep. The sun was just starting to rise, sending orange light through the window. Hana sat up slowly, her wings rustling. She looked around the small apartment, taking in her surroundings. The couch she lay on, the kitchen with its simple appliances, the drawings Young-soo had taped to the walls. Daeho heard the movement and turned. "Hey," he said gently. "You're awake. How do you feel?" Hana stared at him. She didn't speak, but her body tensed. Her hands sparked with small flames, a defensive instinct. Daeho held up his hands, showing he had no weapons. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. You were injured. I helped you. Do you understand?" Hana's flames flickered but didn't go out. Her golden eyes moved from Daeho to the door, calculating if she could reach it. "You're safe here," Daeho said. He moved slowly to the counter and picked up a bowl. "Are you hungry? I made rice porridge. It's bland, but it's good for you." He poured some porridge into a small bowl and set it on the floor between them. Then he stepped back, giving her space. Hana looked at the food, then at him. She didn't move. Young-soo woke up and rubbed his eyes. "Dad, what's happening?" "Our guest is awake," Daeho said calmly, "and probably scared." Young-soo climbed out of bed and walked toward the kitchen. Hana's flames grew brighter at his approach. "Young-soo slowly," Daeho warned. But his son had no fear. He picked up his own bowl of porridge and sat down on the floor, cross-legged, a few feet away from Hana. He started eating, slurping the porridge loudly. "It's okay," Young-soo said between bites. "Dad makes it really bland, but it helps when you're sick. I had it when I had a fever last month." Hana watched the small human child eat. Slowly, the flames in her hands died down. She was hungry, so hungry, and the food smelled good even if it looked strange. She reached out carefully and picked up the bowl. The porridge was warm. She sipped it slowly. It was bland, like Young-soo said, but it was the first food she'd had in days. "It tasted wonderful," Daeho smiled. "Good, eat as much as you want." Over the next hours, Daeho tried to communicate with Hana. He pointed at things and said their names. Table, chair, water. Hana watched and listened, but she didn't speak. He pulled up a translation program on his tablet, but it didn't have Dragonkin language. He tried Universal Standard, the language used for trade between species. Hana seemed to understand a few words, but not many. Through gestures and simple drawings, Daeho learned her name. Hana. She pointed at herself and said it clearly. "Hana," Daeho repeated. "I'm Daeho. This is Young-soo." Hana nodded. She pointed at Young-soo and said his name, her accent making it sound different but close enough. Young-soo was delighted. He started showing Hana all his things. His toy spaceship, his books, his collection of shiny rocks he'd found around the colony. Hana examined each item with curiosity. Daeho noticed something as he watched them. Hana's movements were cautious, controlled. She touched things gently, like she was afraid of breaking them, or like she was used to everything being important, valuable. "Where did you come from?" Daeho asked, knowing she probably wouldn't understand, but Hana surprised him. She pointed upward toward the sky. "Space?" Daeho said. She nodded. Then her expression changed. Fear crossed her face. She made a motion like someone attacking, then pointed at her wounds. "Someone hurt you," Daeho said, understanding. "Bad people," Hana nodded vigorously. She hugged herself, looking small and scared. "You're safe here," Daeho said. He wished he knew how to say it in her language to make her really understand. "No one will hurt you while you're with us." Young-soo put his favorite blanket around Hana's shoulders. "You can have this. It makes me feel safe when I'm scared." Hana looked at the blanket, then at Young-soo. Something in her golden eyes softened. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself and nodded at the boy. In that moment, Daeho saw not a fierce dragon warrior, but a child who'd been through something terrible. A child who needed safety and kindness. Above them in her ship, Empress Mireille watched. Her daughter, heir to the dragon throne, was sitting on a worn couch wrapped in a cheap blanket, sharing breakfast with humans. In the imperial palace, Hana was surrounded by servants, guards, and tutors. Every moment of her day was scheduled. Every interaction was formal. She had playmates, but they were children of nobles, taught to treat her with deference. Here, a human boy shared his toys without ceremony. A human man cooked simple food and expected nothing in return. The princess is smiling, the medical officer said, surprise in his voice. Mirai saw it too. A real smile. Not the polite, practiced expression Hana used at court. A genuine child smile. How long will we observe? The tactical officer asked. Mirai thought about it. Her council was demanding Hana's return. There were political situations that needed the princess's presence. Security concerns. But as she watched her daughter laugh at something Young-Soo said, she made a decision. As long as she needs, Mirai said. She's healing. Not just her wounds. Later that evening, Daeho gave Hana a proper bed. He set up a cot with clean sheets and pillows. Hana touched the soft fabric, confused. For sleeping, Daeho explained. More comfortable than the couch. Hana lay down and Young-Soo tucked the blanket around her like Daeho did for him every night. Hana's eyes widened at the gesture. Sleep good, Young-Soo said. Tomorrow we can play more. As the apartment grew quiet and dark, Hana lay awake for a while. She thought about her home, her mother, the attack. But mostly she thought about this strange human family that had taken her in. She didn't understand why they helped her. In her world, everything had a reason, a political angle. But these humans seemed to expect nothing. For the first time in days, Hana felt safe enough to really sleep. The sun was setting over New Haven Colony, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Daeho wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag, looking at the broken engine parts scattered across his workshop floor. Another long day at the repair shop was finally ending. Dad, can we go home now? I'm hungry, Young-Soo said from the corner where he'd been drawing pictures on his tablet. Daeho smiled at his 7-year-old son. Yeah, buddy. Let me just lock up and we'll get some dinner. He walked around the shop, turning off the lights and checking the tools. Young-Soo followed behind him, his small backpack bouncing with each step. They stepped outside into the cool evening air. Daeho pulled down the metal shutter and locked it with a click. Dad, what's that sound? Young-Soo tugged at his father's sleeve. Daeho paused. He could hear something too. A soft whimpering coming from the alley behind the shop. It sounded like an injured animal. Stay close to me, Daeho said, holding Young-Soo's hand. They walked slowly toward the alley. The narrow space between buildings was filled with old scrap metal, broken machines, and piles of discarded parts. Daeho kept most of his junk here, planning to fix things someday when he had time. The whimpering grew louder. Young-Soo pointed toward a pile of metal sheets. There, Dad, something's moving. Daeho's heart raced. On this frontier colony, you never knew what you might find in dark alleys. Could be a dangerous creature. Could be a thief. He picked up a metal pipe just in case. He moved closer and pushed aside a sheet of corrugated steel. What he saw made him freeze. A child lay crumpled on the ground. But this wasn't a human child. Her skin was covered in iridescent scales that shimmered even in the dim light. Small wings, torn and damaged, lay folded against her back. Blood pooled around her, but it wasn't red. It glowed with a strange silver light. Dad, what is she? Young-Soo whispered, his eyes wide. Daeho knew exactly what she was. Dragonkin. He'd seen pictures and videos, heard stories. They were powerful, fierce warriors from an empire far beyond this small colony. Their kind rarely came to human settlements, and when they did, it was usually for business or war. The girl's eyes flickered open. They were golden, with vertical pupils like a cat. She looked at Daeho with fear and pain mixed together. She tried to move but gasped and fell back. Every instinct told Daeho to walk away. Dragonkin were dangerous. Their families were powerful. Getting involved could mean trouble he couldn't imagine. He had Young-Soo to think about. He had his shop, his simple life. But as he looked at the wounded child, all he saw was someone's daughter, hurt and scared and alone. We need to help her, Young-Soo said softly. Daeho nodded. Yeah, we do. He knelt down beside the girl. She flinched away from him, making a hissing sound. Her hand sparked with tiny flames. Hey, it's okay, Daeho said gently, holding his hands up to show he meant no harm. I want to help. You're hurt. The girl didn't understand his words, but maybe she understood his tone. The flames flickered out. She was too weak to fight anyway. Daeho carefully slid his arms under her small body. She was lighter than he expected, despite the scales and wings. He lifted her slowly, trying not to hurt her more. She whimpered but didn't resist. Young-soo, unlock the door, Daeho said. His son ran ahead and opened the shop. Daeho carried the dragon girl inside, her silver blood dripping onto his shirt. He kicked the door closed behind them and headed for the stairs that led to their small apartment. Above the shop, clear the couch, he told. Young-soo, the boy quickly, moved the cushions and threw blankets aside. Daeho laid the girl down as gently as he could. In the light, he could see her injuries better. Deep gashes ran across her arms and legs. Her wings had tears in the membrane. One of her horns, small and delicate, had a crack in it. What if her family comes looking for her? Young-soo asked, his voice worried. Daeho grabbed his first aid kit from the bathroom. Then we'll explain we were helping. But even as he said it, he wondered if Dragonkin families would believe a human mechanic. Would they think he hurt her? Would they blame him? He pushed the thoughts away. Right now, this child needed help, and that was all that mattered. Far above the planet, in a ship hidden among the stars, Empress Mirai sat in her command chamber. Screens floated in front of her, showing different views of the colony below. Her clawed fingers gripped the armrest of her throne. She had been tracking her daughter for 2 days, ever since the attack. Assassins had tried to kill Hana during a diplomatic visit to a neutral station. The child had fled, wounded and terrified, using an escape pod to reach the nearest planet. Mirai had followed, but she'd held back. She wanted to see who would find Hana, wanted to know if this human colony would show its true nature. In her long life, she'd seen how other species treated the weak and injured. Usually they saw opportunity. A dragon princess could be ransomed, sold, or killed for political gain. Empress, shall we retrieve the princess now? Her tactical officer asked. Mirai watched as the human man carried Hana into a building. Her hand moved toward the weapons console. One command and she could level that entire block. No one would harm her daughter. But she paused. The human had looked at Hana with concern, not greed. He'd picked her up carefully like she was precious, and the small human child with him had shown no fear, only worry. Not yet, Mirai said quietly. I want to see what he does. The tactical officer looked confused but said nothing. He didn't question the Empress. Back in the apartment, Daeho examined the wounds. He'd fixed thousands of machines, understood how systems worked together, but he'd never treated a dragonkin before. Her biology was completely different from humans. The silver blood worried him most. It kept flowing, not clotting properly. He tried using regular bandages, but they didn't work. The blood just soaked through. Think, he muttered to himself. Young-soo brought him his tablet. Dad, my school has information about dragonkin. For cultural studies. Daeho took the tablet and scrolled through the basic information. Dragonkin blood needed specific minerals to clot. Without those minerals, they could bleed to death from even small wounds. He ran to his workshop, Young-soo following close behind. His chemical analyzer sat on the workbench. He used it to test fuel and materials for repairs. Maybe it could help now. He took a sample of the girl's blood and put it in the analyzer. The machine hummed and beeped, breaking down the components. Daeho watched the screen, his mind racing. He saw what was missing. A compound containing iron and copper, but in a ratio that didn't exist naturally in anything he had. I can make it, he said. I can synthesize it. He worked quickly, mixing industrial chemicals, testing and retesting. It took an hour, but finally he had something that might work. A crude paste that contained what her blood needed. He ran back upstairs. The girl was unconscious now, her breathing shallow. He applied the paste to her wounds, praying it would work. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the bleeding stopped. The wounds began to seal with a crystalline substance, like her body was making its own bandages. Daeho let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Young-soo hugged his father's arm. You did it, Dad? Daeho looked at the sleeping dragon girl. Now we just have to keep her safe until she heals. In orbit, Empress Mirai leaned forward, watching her screen. She had seen everything. This simple mechanic had just saved her daughter's life using primitive tools and clever thinking. Interesting, she whispered. With pride, with expectation, with formality, this human loved Hana as a father. 2 weeks after finding Hana in the alley, Daeho's life had settled into a new rhythm. He worked in the shop during the day while the children stayed upstairs. He taught them both in the evenings, simple things about how machines worked. Hana was fascinated by engines and tools, her quick mind absorbing everything. Young-soo loved having someone to share his world with. He wasn't lonely anymore. Daeho should have known it wouldn't last. It was early morning. The sun was just rising over New Haven Colony, casting long shadows across the dusty streets. Daeho was in the shop, working on a broken transport engine. The children were still asleep upstairs. He heard the footsteps before he saw them. Heavy boots on pavement. Multiple sets, moving with purpose. Daeho looked up and felt his blood run cold. 4 figures stood in the doorway of his shop. They weren't human. Their bodies were covered in dark chitinous armor that seemed to be part of their skin. Multiple eyes glowed red in their insect-like faces. Rakan mercenaries. Daeho had seen pictures of them before. They were known across the galaxy as efficient killers. The lead one stepped forward. Its mandibles clicked together, making sounds that the translator device on its chest converted to words. Human. You have something that belongs to our employer. Give us the dragon child and you live. Daeho's heart hammered in his chest. His mind raced. The children were upstairs. Hana and Young-soo, both asleep, both vulnerable. He thought about running, grabbing the kids, and fleeing out the back. But these were trained hunters. They'd catch him in seconds. He thought about fighting. But what could he do against 4 armored mercenaries? He was a mechanic, not a soldier. But as he looked at these killers, he thought about Hana's nightmares. About the fear in her eyes when she talked about the bad people. These were the ones who'd hurt her. Who wanted to hurt her again. Something hardened in Daeho's chest. He stood up slowly, putting down his tools. He stepped between the mercenaries and the stairs leading to his apartment. No, he said simply. The lead mercenary tilted its head, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. You refuse? You're one weak human. We are 4 trained warriors. You understand you will die? I understand, Daeho said. His voice shook, but he didn't move. But you're not getting past me. Foolish. The mercenary raised its weapon, a plasma rifle that glowed with deadly energy. The child is a political obstacle. This doesn't concern your species. Step aside. She's a kid, Daeho said. His hands were sweating. He could feel fear like ice in his veins, but he pushed it down. Whatever your problem is, it's not with her. She's just a child. She is the heir to the dragon throne. Her existence threatens our employer's claim. She must be eliminated. The words made Daeho's stomach drop. Hana was a princess. Not just dragonkin nobility, but the heir to their entire empire. He'd been harboring the most important child in dragon society in his small apartment, feeding her rice porridge and teaching her to play games. But it didn't matter. Princess or not, she was still a scared kid who needed protection. Then you'll have to go through me, Daeho said. The mercenary seemed genuinely puzzled. Why? What is this child to you? You cannot be paid enough to die for her. Our sensors show you've had her for 2 weeks. Surely you understand her value. Name a price for your cooperation. Daeho thought about Hana laughing at Young-soo's jokes, about her careful way of touching things like everything was precious, about how she'd cried when she felt safe enough to show emotion. There is no price, Daeho said. Now get out of my shop. Upstairs, Hana woke to the sound of voices. She recognized the clicking, chittering sound of Rakan's speech. Her eyes went wide with terror. They'd found her. She shook Young-soo awake. Bad people here. Young-soo sat up, confused. What? Downstairs. Bad people who hurt Hana. They crept to the top of the stairs. Through the gap in the door, they could see into the shop below. 4 Rakan mercenaries, and Daeho standing between them and the stairs. Dad, Young-soo whispered, terrified. Hana watched Daeho refuse to move, watched him stand his ground even though he was clearly afraid. She'd seen warriors before, elite dragon guards, soldiers bred for battle, but she'd never seen anyone choose almost certain death to protect someone else's child. Back in the shop, the negotiation was over. The lead mercenary raised its weapon. Your courage is noted, but useless. Step aside or die. Daeho's mind worked frantically. He couldn't fight them, but maybe he could slow them down. His shop was full of tools, machines, safety systems. If he could just buy time, maybe the children could escape out the back. His hand moved to the control panel on the wall. The shop had safety protocols for working with dangerous materials. Magnetic locks, plasma vents, emergency shields. He hit every button at once. The shop erupted in chaos. Magnetic fields activated. pulling metal objects toward the walls. The Rakan stumbled as their weapons were yanked from their grips. Emergency shields slammed down over the windows and doors, sealing them inside. Deho didn't hesitate. He grabbed a plasma wrench and threw it at the control panel of the heating system. It exploded, sending scalding steam through the shop. "Run!" he shouted toward the stairs. "Get out the back." The Rakan were tough and trained. They recovered quickly. One smashed through the emergency shield with brutal strength. Another disabled the magnetic field with a device from its armor. But Deho had bought precious seconds. Young-Soo grabbed Hana's hand and pulled her toward the apartment's back exit. A fire escape that led to the alley. They ran down the metal steps, their feet clanging. Behind them they heard the sounds of fighting. Deho was doing everything he could, but he was just one man. In orbit, Empress Mirai watched the scene unfold on her screens. She'd been monitoring different parts of the colony, checking supply ships and commercial traffic. She'd looked away from Deho's shop for just a few minutes. In those minutes, everything had changed. She saw the Rakan mercenaries, saw Deho standing between them and her daughter, saw him refuse to move. Her hand slammed down on the armrest. "Launch drop pods, now!" Her officers hesitated. "Empress, that will reveal our presence." "The treaties, I don't care about treaties." Mirai's voice was thunder. Her eyes blazed with rage. "That human is defending my daughter with his life. I will not let him die for his courage." "Launch now!" The ship's bay doors opened. Drop pods shot toward the planet like meteors burning through the atmosphere. In the shop, Deho was losing. He'd managed to hit one mercenary with a burst of plasma from a damaged welder. But the others had cornered him. His improvised weapons were nothing against their armor. A clawed hand grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. The lead mercenary brought him close to its face. Brave, but stupid. Where did the child go? Deho couldn't speak with the hand crushing his windpipe. His vision started to go dark. He thought about Young-Soo, hoped his son had gotten away, hoped someone would take care of him. Then the sky exploded. The roof of the shop blew apart as something massive crashed through. The mercenary dropped Deho in surprise. Through the hole in the roof, armored figures descended. Dragonkin warriors in ceremonial armor that gleamed with bioluminescent patterns. They moved with lethal grace, weapons already firing. The Rakan tried to fight back, but they were outmatched. Dragonkin warriors were legendary for a reason. In seconds, 2 of the mercenaries were down. The other 2 tried to flee. They didn't make it far. Deho lay on the ground, gasping for air, trying to understand what was happening. More figures appeared. Dragonkin soldiers securing the perimeter, setting up defensive positions. And then she arrived. The air itself seemed to bend as wings spread across the width of the street. Empress Mirai descended like a goddess from ancient myths. Her scales shimmered with colors that shifted in the light. Her presence was overwhelming, a physical weight that made it hard to breathe. Deho tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't work. He could only stare as this magnificent creature landed in front of his destroyed shop. Mirai's golden eyes swept the scene. She saw her warrior securing the last mercenary, saw the damage to the shop, saw the human man on the ground bruised and bleeding. Then she heard a cry. "Mother!" Hana ran from the alley, her small wings fluttering. Young-Soo held her hand, trying to keep up. Mirai turned and dropped to her knees. Hana crashed into her arms, crying and talking rapidly in their language. Mirai held her daughter tight, checking her for injuries with a mother's careful touch. Deho watched this reunion and finally understood. The dragon child he'd been protecting, teaching to play games and making rice porridge for, was the daughter of the Dragon Empress. He'd harbored the heir to an interstellar empire in his studio apartment. Fed her instant noodles, let her sleep on a cheap cot. "Oh no," he whispered. Mirai stood, Hana still in her arms. She turned to face Deho. Her expression was unreadable, her golden eyes studying him. Deho tried to explain. She was hurt. I didn't know who she was. I just wanted to help." One of the dragon warriors stepped forward. "Empress, shall we secure the human?" Mirai raised a hand, stopping the warrior. She continued to stare at Deho. Then she spoke, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the ground vibrate. Her officer, Bora, stepped forward with a translation device. "You saved her," the translation device say.